Okay, looks like we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Sangha Live daily meditation session. Hope you all had a good weekend. Lovely to be back here for another week of morning meditations. And we're very grateful to have Kyra Jewel with us again this week while Martin continues to recover from his illness with coronavirus. And it's lovely to see you all saying hi again in the sidebar there. Lots of names we're recognising now, so welcome to you all. As usual, we'll be here for an hour. We'll be starting with a short talk and then, going into a guided meditation for 20-25 minutes or so, and then going into a short period where it's your opportunity to ask questions about the meditation or your practice or the talk. And if you'd like to ask Kyra Jewel a question, you are always very welcome to come on screen and share your screen with her. If you would like to do that, it means you can ask your question in a bit more depth. Kyra Jewel gets a bit more nuance. You can have a bit more of a conversation about it. Just let me know in the sidebar if you'd like to come on screen. You'll need to make sure you're using either Chrome or Firefox because Safari doesn't work so well. Alternatively, there's the Ask a Question box right underneath the video screen there. Click on Ask a Question. Little box will pop up and you can put your question in writing if you prefer to do it that way. And then the other thing I'd like to mention is Dana, because we incur ongoing costs bringing these sessions to you. They are quite substantial and we need to meet them, and we can only meet them through your very gratefully received generosity. So if you're able to give anything at all, we'd be really grateful, very appreciative, and it means that we can continue doing what we're doing. We can pay for the platform, we can pay for the various admin costs, the various costs of software that we need to meet. We can only do that if you give. We don't get money from anywhere else. So if you'd like to contribute and help to support us and keep these sessions going, just click on the green Dana button underneath the video screen, and there'll be a few options there that are presented for ways to donate. So many thanks in advance for your generosity. Oh, and also to mention, as I always forget, half of what you give will go to Kyra Jewel to support her as well. So I'm going to take myself off now. I hope you enjoy this morning session.
And warm greetings to you all. It's very good to be back again, and it was a lovely feeling of reunion as I saw your names showing up in the chat and your warm greetings to each other. So and thank you for your suggestions that I asked on Friday about what you'd like to explore this week with me. I really appreciate what you shared, and today we're going to look at how to practice with physical pain and illness. So thank you for the suggestions about this. So one of the main orientations that I found really helpful is to open to the experience as much as I can, to not resist it, and also to cultivate compassion for myself, for the situation. I don't have a real personal experience with chronic physical pain, but what I have experienced that might be somewhat related is chronic insomnia. I don't have it right now, but I've gone through times in my life where for months at a time I would wake up at 3 or 2 in the morning and not be able to sleep again. And what helped me in those times was, as much as I could, it wasn't always easy, I couldn't always do it, but when I could, it helped if I could let go of wanting it to be different. And there's this equation that says resistance times pain equals suffering. So pain on its own, the pain of not being able to sleep, the pain of physical discomfort, it doesn't need to be suffering. Pain doesn't need to equal suffering. And whenever I would stop resisting, I would feel a huge difference. So, of course, I had a huge wish to be able to sleep like everyone so that I could function well the next day, so that my health would be maintained. But I noticed when I would worry and be afraid of what the lack of sleep would do to me the next day, it would make it so much worse, and it would be so much harder to fall asleep again. But when I could allow it to be the way it was, I would actually find a place of rest within the not being able to sleep. So I wasn't fighting it. I could just soften into this reality of, yeah, I can't sleep. And if I could soften, open towards it, sometimes I would be able to fall back asleep because I was relaxed, I was calm. So we really want to pay attention to how we talk to ourselves when we're going through pain, whether it's physical pain, whether it's an illness. So pain has, as its nature, it wants to grasp our attention. And when it's constantly there, when it's chronic, or if we have a long drawn out illness, it's really hard to be in a nervous system that's always producing severe pain. And compassion, this attitude that we bring towards ourselves, towards a situation, if we can access it, compassion not only reduces our anxiety about what we're going through, but it has also been shown to positively affect our physical situation, our nervous system's response to pain. It can be toned down by an attitude of care and compassion. So that's what happens if we stop resisting. If we can cultivate compassion, that actually calms the whole system down much more. So I wanted to share with you some thoughts from Tara Brach. This is from her website, and it's a reflection she wrote on pain is not wrong. Pain is not wrong. I can say that many times because it's not so easy to receive it. But she writes, whenever we react to pain with fear and view it as wrong, we set in motion a waterfall of reactivity. Fear, which is itself made up of unpleasant sensations, only compounds the pain. So now we not only want to get away from the original pain, but also from the pain of fear. In fact, the fear of pain is often the most unpleasant part of the painful experience. When we assess physical sensations as something to be feared, pain is not just pain. It is something wrong and bad that we must get away from. Often this fear of pain proliferates into a web of stories. Yet, when we are habitually immersed in our stories about pain, we prevent ourselves from experiencing it as the changing stream of sensations that it is. Instead, our muscles contract around it, and our stories identify it as the enemy. The pain solidifies into a self-perpetuating, immovable mass. Our resistance can end up creating new layers of symptoms and suffering, since when we abandon our body for our fear-driven stories about pain, we actually trap the pain in our body. So I really appreciated that insight, that not only does resistance compound the pain, but it makes it last longer. So it's so human, it's so instinctive to resist and push back against pain. But if we really pay attention, and this is where our mindfulness practice is so helpful, we'll notice that it does the opposite. It doesn't help us move through it. It makes the sensations more intense, and it locks it in. So once I was practicing at the Insight Meditation Society in Massachusetts, and I had overeaten. It was the day when they served pizza, which was a very rare day. And when you're on a 3-month silent retreat, food becomes a very big focus of the day, because there's just nothing else that's, no talking, not much stimulation. So the food becomes very big. So this day they served pizza, which, maybe happened twice in the whole 3 months. So I overate on the pizza. And I had a really bad stomach ache. And there was sitting meditation after lunch. So I went to sit, and I was miserable sitting there with this, terrible indigestion. And I mean, it's really painful, right? Everyone's experienced how it can be. The whole body kind of focuses on this, heaviness and, acidity in the stomach, and this, almost like being trapped in your own body. And then all the self-recrimination. Oh, you knew better. You shouldn't have eaten that much. And why did you eat so much? And right. So then that's compounding with all of the, there's this sense when you're in pain that you want to blame something or someone just to, again, we think it's going to make it better, but it just makes it worse. So we want to get out of the situation by putting blame. So somehow, as I was meditating, I noticed all of the things I was doing in an effort not to feel the pain that were actually making it worse. So I stopped. I said, you know what, let me actually just feel what my feelings are right here. And so I went in rather than trying to escape. And so I tried to explore what's actually the nature of this experience, like not just as pain, indigestion, something I did wrong, but like, no, what's the moment to moment experience? And so I got curious, and I was like, oh, there's a heaviness, there's a sharpness, there's like a full feeling. And what surprised me when I noticed that was I noticed not only the lower part of my stomach, which I usually can tap into when I'm full, but I actually felt the upper part of my stomach, like this part above. And I was like, wow, I was amazed that I could sense the whole entirety of my stomach, that the food must have been so much that I was feeling the pressure on all top and bottom. So that actually brought me some joy. I was like, oh my, I can actually be so precise or so honed in my sensations that I can feel something I've never noticed before. So it's possible to bring curiosity, interest, wonder to our experience of pain if we don't label it as this hard, fast, stuck thing, but we see it as this process that's changing. And, it was interesting as I sat there for an hour, how it changed, like how it got less and less intense and less of a problem. And just noticing like how it was very fluid, and I didn't need to attach onto that first experience of it and label it indigestion and then get all upset about it. But just, no, I could just step back and see this process flowing and not lock it in, right? So I'll share one more story from a meditation teacher because it's so powerful. This is Kittisaro, a teacher in the Vipassana tradition. He lived for many years with very serious chronic illness and pain. And he says, illness wasn't a teacher I would have chosen, but there was nothing I could do about it. Until that point, I had basically been able to accomplish whatever I wanted through willpower, study, and persistence. I'd been able to bend circumstances to my desires. My sense of self was intimately connected with my success. Then I spent years struggling with chronic pain, overpowering weakness, digestive disorders, internal bleeding, and so on. Though I saw doctors and healers and underwent myriad treatments, I couldn't overcome the illness. Unable to participate in the normal monastic routine, he had been a monk for 15 years, I felt like a failure. Fortunately, the Buddha taught that sickness, old age, and death are heavenly messengers, and that to live in denial of these truths results in suffering. My illness taught me how to die. In other words, how to surrender to what I couldn't change, and how to make peace with the painful and confused states of body and mind that I encountered. My capacity for patience deepened, and in moments when I wasn't feeling sorry for myself or wishing my life was otherwise, I discovered that there is a deep part of ourselves that is never sick, that never dies. That unyielding illness, which refused to follow my orders, brought me to a place where I lost everything I'd thought I was. Then I found what remains, which no one can take away. So, illness and pain can be very powerful teachers that take us to the essence of what life is and bring us to an experience of profound freedom. So in the meditation today, I'm going to offer we're going to explore together two ways to be with pain. One is when pain or discomfort is more tolerable, sort of on the, if you think of pain being on a 1 to 10, with 1 being not very painful and 10 being excruciating. The first area is more tolerable, say that's 1 to 5 on the scale. And then the other part we're going to look at is how to approach it when it's really becoming more intolerable, when it's sort of that 6 to 10 on the scale. Because at that point, it's not helpful to focus on the pain if we don't have energy to be with it. Doing that can wither the mind. It's too overwhelming. So in that case, when it's becoming intolerable or is intolerable, we need to bring our attention to places that are more neutral, that feel more pleasant, maybe in the body or in sounds or sights. So those are the two aspects we'll explore today. You ready? And just to say, if you know you're practicing today and you don't have physical pain, these practices are also very powerfully, can be applied to emotional pain. And we know there's a big connection between emotional and physical pain. So if you want to adapt it for yourself to look at more emotional pain, you can do that too. And this meditation that I'm going to share is coming from Tara Brach and also from some other sources of her teaching around pain. So sitting in a way that's comfortable for you. If you like, you can close your eyes or keep them open. And beginning to collect your attention with some full breaths. Just really letting the breath flow through you. Taking some moments to let the attention scan the body. And as you do, noticing if there are any areas of particular discomfort. If there is an area where there's unpleasant sensations calling your attention, bringing a receptivity there. Noticing what happens as you begin to be present with those sensations. Notice if there's any attempt to push the pain away, or to pull away from the pain, or to do something with the pain. If there's any tensing in the body or in the emotions. Something that can be interesting to investigate is to ask ourselves, how am I relating to the pain, to the discomfort, or to my illness if I'm feeling sick? Is there a receptive presence? Is there interest and kindness? Or is there reactivity? Is there a pushing away through either physical contracting or mental aversion? Is there judging the experience? You could ask yourself, am I feeling oppressed or victimized by this experience? Am I afraid it will get worse? Am I afraid that this means I'm seriously sick? Am I angry at my body for letting me down? If you become aware of physical, mental, or emotional reactivity to the pain, include that also in a kind, clear attention. Trust that your awareness itself, space of more balance and so if the area or constellation of unpleasantness feels tolerable, if it's tolerable, let your intention be to remain present, to stay with the experience. You might try sending the message, "You belong," or "This too is part of my life. I can include this too." Or "Yes," a simple yes to the experience. Some message of allowing. Allowing unpleasant sensations to be as they are, opening to them with interest and gentleness. What do you notice? Sense if there's change, if there's movement, more intensity sometimes, less intensity. Be aware of the ways the sensations change. Maybe there's a spreading of experience or a consolidating, becoming more hard or soft, heavy or light, or other related kinesthetic experiences like texture or even visual experiences like color that become predominant. Bringing a clear, allowing, investigative, kind presence to the unpleasant sensations. and to the physical resistance around them that are the most intense. You might choose to deepen the attention right to the center of where you feel the most intensity, sensing from the inside out the experience of sensations. You could see if naming sensations is helpful. Dropping in words that might describe what you're experiencing and then checking in. Is that it? Is that accurate? Is it burning or aching, twisting, tearing, stabbing, throbbing? What's the actual moment-to-moment experience? If the sensations are intense, you might approach contact slowly and gently, deepening your attention a little bit at a time so that you don't feel overwhelmed. And if the sensations are strong towards the intolerable zone, take some moments to explore establishing another place for your attention. This is a resource place that feels neutral or pleasant. For some, it might be the hands, the lips, the eyes, the feet. If the breath helps, breathe and rest in a place that has more ease. Finding a neutral or pleasant place to resource ourselves gives resilience, helps us to regain some balance and keep perspective. When we bring our attention to these other places, we become aware of a larger set of phenomena than just the area of physical pain. So you might be in touch with the air on your skin, the touch of your clothing, or even sounds or colors, or the dance of shadows with the dappling sunlight. What we want to do is increase the number and nuance of phenomena that we're directly experiencing, so we dilute the strong sensation of the pain. Find in this moment what is resourcing for you, what's neutral or pleasant in your body or in your surroundings. And when you've found this place or these places, you could explore going back and forth some, sensing the zone that feels it's a resource, and then gently easing into a bit of where it's unpleasant, and then back again. We're kind of pendulating in, sensing the difficult, the discomfort, and then returning to the place that's more of a resource. Sensing that the back and forth is giving some space to the experience of discomfort. You might also explore sensing into the space more immediately around the area of discomfort, seeing if you can let the sensations float in a larger space, a soft attention, noticing their natural dance of change. If mindful presence is strong, you may notice that sensations are unfolding in an allowing space of presence. So rather than feeling identified with and oppressed by the pain or the experiences of illness, it can feel as if the unpleasant sensations are floating in a spacious awareness. Perhaps you can sense the space around the unpleasant sensations and also the interior space, as in the space that's in the nucleus of an atom, the space that sensations arise out of and dissolve into. Letting the body become like open space with plenty of room for unpleasant sensations to arise and then fade, or intensify and then dissolve, to move, to change. No holding, no tensing. Letting the space be infused with a wakefulness and awareness, inhabiting a sea of awareness, letting unpleasant sensations float, unfold, and move in an accepting openness. Very good, everyone. We'll begin to bring our practice to a close. Coming back to feel your body right where you are. Bringing maybe movement into your hands or feet. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes if you have closed them. And we have time now for questions or sharing. You're welcome to write your experience in the chat. And if you have a question, you can come on screen or you can ask a question in the Ask a Question area. Okay, there's a question from Elena. My thoughts kept going to current problems I have, mainly relationships I can no longer tolerate, and mind kept trying to find a solution. How to deal with those thoughts so that they still resolve in some ways? Thanks for the question, Elena. It's first of all really good that you were able to track what your mind was doing and you noticed that your thoughts were on your relationship issues, the solutions you're trying to find to them. So when you notice that that's happening, I'm not sure how you did feel or respond to them, so I don't want to presume, but if you can create space for them to, and just notice, oh, here are thoughts about these difficult things that I need to resolve. And if you can go, like we did with the inquiry into pain, go into the body and notice, how's the body responding to these thoughts? What are the emotions that might be beneath them? Is it fear? Is it anxiety, worry, hurt? So get interested in all of those experiences, just like you would get interested in the pain. Yeah. Don't see the time of meditation as a time to come to some solution, but to pay attention to whatever's here. That's the best way to arrive at a solution. We won't get to a solution by trying to think our way there. But if we can come into the body, if we can really feel what's going on, that is where our wisdom will come from in terms of what's the best way to resolve our difficulty. Because the insight, the deeper wisdom that's deeper than thinking, that is in the body, that's in our present moment experience. So we need to allow our mind to settle in order to touch that deeper wisdom. I hope that's helpful, Elena. And this is from Rivka. How do I carry this meditation practice onto my painful knees walking? So in walking meditation, I'm assuming is your question, Rivka. I think it kind of depends on how painful it is. I can't really answer that without. I mean, and you have to be the person to really decide what's most appropriate. If it's painful, but it's not damaging your knees to walk, then you could apply the same attentiveness, the inquiry, the curiosity to the experience of pain as you walk. But if doing that would create more damage to your knees and somehow, and more pain, then that wouldn't be advisable. Then you might try some other kind of meditation, like standing meditation, if that's not painful, or lying down meditation. So, there's always like a a zone within which mindfulness, doing the activity that's painful, can be useful. But once that experience is too overwhelming, then trying to be mindful of it and learn from it is not so useful, at least not exclusively. The pendulation that we did in the meditation, you could try that, where you just walk a little bit and you pay attention, and then you sit down or you lie down, and then, you try again, you walk again a little bit, like 5 minutes later, you do a short walk and you pay attention mindfully. So it doesn't need to be continuous, but always, bringing mindfulness to the pain. It can just be in little doses that are, that can be sustained by your mindfulness, but also that are healthy and not asking too much of your body. So, so you'd have to explore and see what will work for you. Thanks for the question. And this is from Lisa. I broke my foot recently and I need to give myself injections to prevent thrombosis every day. I kind of stopped because I hate that moment when I need to put the needle into my body. The pain that radiates outward afterwards is actually manageable, but that moment, any thoughts? Yes, thank you, Lisa. It's sometimes the fear of the pain is worse than the pain itself. Or just we have, maybe an idea about putting a needle into our body. We have more aversion to the idea than to the actual experience of it. So I guess I would suggest, if you're up for it, to just really bring mindfulness before, when you pick up the needle, take some deep breaths. And as you're injecting yourself, pay attention to each thing that's happening, not just the physical experiences, but what's happening in the mind, what your thoughts are saying, and see if you can really face to the physical reactivity, to loosen, to soften as you do that. You might even come up with a different association than injecting yourself. What if you thought about it as your body was drinking in a medicine that it needed to protect it from something quite serious? I mean, if you get a blood clot, you could die. So your body, you could see the injection as your body drinking in a protective substance. I don't know, that could shift it a little bit. You could try and see. Yeah, I hope you recover quickly and mindfully. And this is a question from Elodie. Oh wait, I'll answer Nicola's question first. What did you do when you couldn't sleep? Did you stay in bed or get up? Oh, good question. Mostly I stayed in bed. So it mainly happened when I was a nun, and so it would have disturbed people if we always share rooms as nuns. So I wouldn't want to disturb them, but also I was so tired, I really didn't want to get up and do anything. I didn't have that kind of insomnia where I couldn't get to sleep at night. It was just I would wake up in the middle of the night and not be able to go back to sleep. So generally what I would do mostly is I had a a tool box of many guided relaxations that I would be able to listen to, and I would put on a guided relaxation, a yoga nidra, some kind of practice that would help me come into my body, so I could use my earphones so it wouldn't disturb anyone. I'd follow my breath. I would feel my body against the bed, and I would just try to be in my body and relax as much as I could. And that often would help me get back to sleep, or at least to be relaxed in the experience of having insomnia. So that was what worked for me. I know it's different for everybody. I know a monk who had insomnia. He said getting up and doing a headstand in yoga really helped him. Other people have said taking cold showers helped them to get some rest. So I think it's different for everyone, but what helped me was to stay in bed and to do the relaxation practices. And then there's a question from Jan. Although I don't experience personal pain, I often feel the pain of others. Is this a healthy practice? I think we are, as humans, we have, it's built in that when we see someone in pain, we feel some kind of pain also. It's how our brains are wired. They talk about mirror neurons, that you see someone smiling and happy and you naturally, those parts of your brain light up. So we tend to be very affected by the emotions, the experiences of others. And if we're especially being more tuned in to the emotions of others, then it can be very strong, that sense of identifying with other people's experience. And I think, it can be useful to help us to get in touch with our compassion, but we also need to know its limits and not take in people's pain to such an extent that we become paralyzed by it, or that, overwhelmed by it. So I think we have to notice, how is it affecting us? Is it leading us to be able to act and support them in a more effective way? Are we engaging to relieve suffering because of that? Or are we becoming immobilized or helpless or overwhelmed? And if it's the second case, then we want to figure out how to either protect ourselves a little more, or channel our compassion, our pain for them, into something more beneficial. And this is a question now from Elodie. My pain was so strong that it makes me sick and the practice intensifies it at the point that I thought I was fainting. I told myself I was safe, and I stopped the experience, and the pain felt reduced. It was really intense and quite scary. I wonder if it was due to the attention. Thank you for that question, Elodie. So when it's super intense like that, it's better to put our attention onto something more neutral, something more pleasant, like you did. So you stopped, and that's good. I think that was very wise, that it was getting overwhelming. So you brought your attention to something that was more stabilizing for you. So it can often happen that when we bring mindfulness to something very painful, that it intensifies the pain. It's not really that the pain is becoming more intense, but we're just giving it more of our attention. The pain is the same, but because of our attention, it's making itself more known because we're giving it more of our attention. So it's something to ease into slowly. And that practice we did of titrating or pendulating, where we found something that would resource us, that was neutral, that was pleasant, and then just touching into the pain slightly and then coming back to the experience that's more pleasant, more neutral. So you could try that and see if that is better for you as a way to learn and understand your pain, but in just little doses, little bites, and always coming back to resource yourself. You could see if that's more helpful. But it's important that we don't get overwhelmed by the experience, because that's not helpful to really understanding our minds and understanding how pain works. We need to have some sense of balance, some sense of awareness in order to learn from these experiences. So I hope that's helpful, Elodie. And yes, the recordings are available after each day on the same website, on Sangha Live. So I think we are coming to the end of our time. I'm so glad that this has been helpful for some of you as I read your notes in the chat. And may we continue to practice opening with compassion, with care, with loving awareness to our unpleasant and uncomfortable sensations, so we can find deeper and deeper freedom in the midst of our lives. And I will see you tomorrow and every day this week, same time, same place. Be well. Thank you for your practice.